Hey everyone, I hope all of you had a wonderful start to your weekends and welcome to Planet Zoo and Ozaru. So yes, today we are going to build the final habitat of Ozaru. There are not going to be any more. At least my squirrel brain right now tells me that there are not going to be any more. But I know that that can change any second, so yeah, so far last habitat of Ozaru, and yes, it is the Gharial habitat. I think I was maybe a little bit too obvious when I was saying like, oh, you know, the animal needs to be a water connected animal, or like a very heavily water connected animal. It's going to be right next to the Bengal tigers, and it needs to fit in with like Asian animals because Ozaru is an Asian zoo, so you know, Asian animals. And I was thinking very shortly of like, oh, maybe like the hippo is like just a weird little thing, but no. So yeah, the Gharial really only fits the description that I gave for the habitat and what the animal would need to deal with. And Roy also gave like a list with all the like animals that could fit in with Ozaru, and Gharial was really the only one left that was water connected. Well, I could make like a water habitat with a red panda, but I think I could probably make a water connected habitat or like any habitat with red pandas. When it comes to red pandas, I will be very creative because I love those animals. But sadly, no red pandas yet in the beta so far. But before we get into the habitat, I want to point out two things quickly, or at least like it's two things, but they are like really connected to each other. Today's video is first off a lot longer, or like a lot, it's 5 minutes longer than usual, because you guys asked if or like you wanted to see almost everything that I've built. So I'm glad to do that, but it does mean that the last two videos will be a little bit longer. And yes, last two. This is not the final one, or at least that's what I have in mind. So there's going to be one more speed build video after this. Though that speed build will not include any animals. Maybe at most like an exhibit. But it will mostly be just finishing off Ozaru. So yeah, I expect to get that one done by tomorrow. So basically you have had like 4 days now straight of like Ozaru. Yeah. But I'm in a way happy. Like with how Ozaru turned out so far. I mean, it would be weird if I wasn't happy with it, because then it would be a weird video to make. But yeah. Also back to the habitat, because we should get back into it. Well, the habitat is a little different, of course, because it's almost completely water. I wanted to go with this like fishing area theme, but of course like a little bit in disrepair, because who wants to fish right next to a Gharial? And yes, I say Gharial because I don't really know for sure if a Gharial is like an alligator or a crocodile. There is a difference. I think one is like saltwater or one is like sweet water. I have no clue. Again, like I'm mostly into Planet Zoo because of buildings. The animals are like a nice addition. Like I really would have wanted to have the fence between the Bengal tiger and the Gharials gone, because for me that's just an eyesore. But I mean, otherwise one of them would end up as the dinner for the other one. Yeah. But anyway, so back to the habitat. It was the most annoying one to build in Ozaru, I'm not joking. Because the Gharials can't climb, or at least it seems they can't lift their legs. Because everything, like every little island, needed to be as smooth as possible. And you have probably seen the rest of Ozaru and the rivers. And most of them, unless you're talking about the sort of river in the elephant habitat, or the elephant and rhino habitat, are mostly completely encased in stone. And if you tilt the stone just like 1 millimeter the wrong way, it becomes inaccessible to the Gharials. Like the complete island just isn't seen on like their habitat. This was mostly shown because when I was building the small, like when you have the entrance to the habitat for the keepers, like there needs to be like a small land area there, and the keepers could fine drop the Gharials off. But the Gharials, because that small land area wasn't like completely smoothed out, they only saw that small land area, or like it's not completely an island, but so you know, I just call it a land area. But they only saw that land area as their habitat, so they were completely miserable because they could literally not move. And I really needed to go back a lot of times to smooth out areas, to remove rocks and such. So there are going to be a small few bits to this habitat that don't have like the complete rock encasing, which I'm a little bit peeved about. But I mean, you know, I say I am in Plan 2 completely for the buildings, which is somewhat true, but it's not that I completely forget about the animals. But yeah, back to what we're building. I wanted to, as I said before, go for this small fishing like area. First I thought like, oh, let's build a harbor, but the habitat is a little bit too small to build like a harbor. Well, it's like maybe like a harbor for like, well, Ozaru is a village, so maybe like somewhat suitable for Ozaru as a harbor, but yeah, I wanted to look a little bit in like disrepair, but not completely, because as far as like scary habitats, I didn't want the Gharial habitat to be really scary, so there are a lot of flowers actually. Well, not completely like everything is flowers, but it's actually quite a colorful habitat so far. But yeah, you see me placing down rocks. The amount of times I had to go back and just edit the rocks so that they could get up on them. Like actually the small sort of like river area that flows out from the elephant's habitat is completely inaccessible to them. Like, yeah. So I basically just made it into like, not like a river thingy, but just like, I don't know, like some kind of drainage thing. Like it's almost completely full of reeds and such. But yeah, like looking back at all the stones that I've placed and the amount of stones that I have left over after just going back and making the entire habitat accessible to the Gharials. Yeah, like I get that it's like it's realistic for the animal because, you know, they are Gharials, they can't climb and such, but this was a little bit too much for me. I was so annoyed by it. Also, I'm like really thinking right now, like this is completely not in any way related to what we're building. Well, it's in a way, but it's not related to Asaru. But I have a plan for what I want to do with Plan 2 when the full game gets released, and I'm really scared of like how will I do water animals. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a little bit of like, you know, goods still on like the docks and such, but you can see that it is in disrepair. Like all of the docks are like, when you get close to the water, are just completely broken. But there are a lot of flowers, so it's not as scary as the wolf habitat. Well, there are no graves, let's say that. But yeah, it was a nice habitat to build, just because it's so different than everything I've built so far. Because so far we don't have, or didn't have, any animal that was really closely related to the water, or like really was more of a water animal than a land animal almost. And yeah, it was, I want to say, oh, you know, it was fun, but no, I've already said too many times that it was way too annoying. To smooth everything out so that it could somewhat work. Also, yes, it's not going to be the final speed build video, but in the final speed build video I will probably not do the rock work. Because in the final speed build video I plan to at least do like most of the river finish like all the buildings on Ozaru, and actually a little bit of like preview of what we are going to do in like all of the extra time we have on this video. We are going to build some staff buildings, or at least, you know, I said in the last video, oh, I probably won't do these staff videos. I mean, I already said that I'm a squirrel and I can change things on just a flip of a dime, so that's probably not the right expression, but we'll go for it because, yeah, I'm a squirrel. Yeah, I'm a squirrel, sometimes a goldfish, and otherwise a red panda. Like, I have the laziness of a red panda in some way. I have the mind of a goldfish because half of the time, halfway through the commentary, I forget what I talked about. Yeah, I should probably work on that. But also a squirrel just because I get so easily distracted. Yeah, I just constantly just relate myself to animals. Maybe that's what drew me into Planet Zoo when I first saw the videos of, you know, the announcement and such. Yeah, I might have a problem, but it's a happy problem. That sounds very wrong in so many ways. But anyway, so yeah, as I said, the Gharial habitat was the most annoying one to build. And all these little caves that I'm building, well, all these little caves, there are some, like there are two, but they were all inaccessible to the Gharials when I first tried it. Like the thing you see me build right now, completely inaccessible to them. Because one of those rocks is just in some way not smooth enough, so it's blocking the entire cave. I think actually the left cave, no, yeah, no, actually I think maybe the right cave. Well, at least one of those caves were accessible, but that was like, yeah, I think it's the right cave because it was the smaller one of the two. But yeah, it was a little bit annoying to build. But yeah, the rock work, you have seen me do that a lot of times. Maybe also in like what I've planned for full release, I probably also won't show the rock work. Just because I always say rock work is the one thing you can do if you're completely uninspired. Because when you build rocks, unless you're doing some like mystical and magical thing, you don't really have to have inspiration for that. Because you just need to look at like, alright, if I were a rock, would I fall down from this place? Do I need support from this place? So do I need like another rock underneath me? And just like very practical thinking when it comes to building rocks. Also, it got asked, not on, well, not in the comments, but if I wanted to do like a tutorial. No, just because like I can't keep my mind on something for like more than 20 minutes. And again, I say this for the 5th time now, but yeah, I'm just the worst teacher. So no tutorials from me. I think like the late designer Silverhead and Rudy will have you covered for that. I'm just here to be a madman behind the mic. Be a squirrel behind the mic, basically. But yeah, so all these enclosures, all these shelter areas, inaccessible. For some reason, the one that was completely built out of rock on like the complete right side of the habitat, for some reason was accessible, which is weird. Like the one that is completely built out of rock is accessible, and the ones that have actual land and has the stone like actually built or sunk into the land are not. Yeah, please explain that to me, Gharials. Also, for some reason, the name Gharial just, I don't know, it just sounds very peaceful to me. Maybe because I'm relating it to like Galadriel from Lord of the Rings, but yeah. So yeah, I wanted to have none of like the spooky factor that the wolf habitat has. So there are going to be a lot of trees. Actually, when I look at like the coverage slider or like the coverage meter of the Gharials, it's at 104%. How? How did I cover it so much that it went off the scale? I don't know why. Well, I did build, well, you have seen me build already like the cliff face that's surrounding Ozaru in the, well, when we were building the monastery a bit. And I did build like all the trees there. I'm not, well, I don't think I'm going to build like a second monastery, but then again, like, I also said that I wouldn't build an exhibit, but I did. And I did do that off screen though, so sorry for that, guys. But that exhibit building was really just to, well, basically just try and do some new things, which was quite weird to actually still do new things like 3 days into like the end of the beta, or like with 3 days remaining. But because of what I've tried with the exhibit building, we can actually build the staff buildings, or at least like what I have planned right now for the staff buildings is to have like one staff building completely decorated, or like one staff building which has like multiple functions, and then basically copy that, but in a way that it can look good on just every area of Ozaru. So yeah, building basically a little bit of like a very generic one, or like some building that could still fit in with Ozaru. It's not like just completely modern, it's still Asian, but it doesn't have like a very distinctive style. It's not like, oh, it looks like the monastery, oh, it looks like a pagoda. Like, it looks like just an Asian or Eastern Asian house type stuff thingy. Yeah. And yes, what we're building right now, completely inaccessible to the Gharials. So I actually made it completely overgrown just because the Gharials couldn't come in here. Like, yeah, I do realize, oh, you know, it might be because of the rock island that's like right at the entrance of that place, but I wanted to have that rock area there because the water just, when it comes out of the elephant and rhino habitat, like it goes through there, and I just wanted to have like a rock area to sort of just, I don't know, it looks nice when you have like an island completely made out of rock at like the mouth of a river, or at least that's what I think. But yeah, a lot of plants on this habitat, just because the building can be quite spooky if the rest of the habitat is also like very like, let's just say overgrown. Well, it is overgrown, but just like if it looks spooky with no plants or like dead plants, then it's just a very dark and spooky habitat, and we already have that a little bit with the wolves, and I didn't want to add another one because it was a little bit too far removed from the wolves to, you know, make those two habitats in a way connect. But yeah, also those trees that I have constantly used in Ozaru, like those are like the trees that are everywhere. I'm really happy with them. Yeah, they were a little bit like, they were usable everywhere. Almost like my staff building. But I'm very glad that so far, like, I think all the nature parts that are in the game and also are going to be in the game in full release are accessible. Because if we had like a limit on also on the nature part, Ozaru wouldn't be able to basically work. I do still hope though that the coverage slider can be turned off, or like the plant slider, because yeah, I think some or most sandbox players will probably go completely insane when building their habitats and will completely encase it in plants. Though that might also just be a thing of mine, that I just want to just have every area of the habitat that can be covered in plants. Might be just a me thing, might be just a squirrel thing. But yeah, I do still hope that we can turn that off, but we'll see. I'm still in a way really just sad that Ozaru will just be gone. Like, I've actually looked at how long I've spent in Ozaru so far. I think it's like 56 hours. So yeah, by the end, maybe like, let's say 70 hours in Ozaru, and then Wednesday it's just gone. Yeah, I really like, in some way, like, I hope like a miracle happens and Ozaru will still be there when the full game gets released, but I don't think it's going to be. But yeah, this is really what just blew off the coverage slider to the max. Again, I don't know how I pulled it off to get it on 104%. Like, for me, like, I might be stupid there. I can completely see that if I am, but shouldn't a coverage slider or meter not go beyond 100%? Or am I just an idiot and don't, like, do I miss something? Most of the time when people ask that, they do. So yeah, I might just be an idiot here. But yeah, all these trees and all those pines are really just what blew the coverage meter off. And now we are actually building the staff building that is probably going to be the main, well, the building that you will see very frequently, or like for so far I think 3 times in Ozaru. It's basically, it houses the staff center and like the food, how do you call it, just the food preparation station thingy. I'm just going to call it that, the food preparation station. But yeah, I tried some new stuff, and there is this round plaster wall, and I just thought like, alright, first of all, who is going to use this beyond like building Asian buildings? Like, I can't really see much more of a use of this one wall piece beyond that. And I just thought like, I could use this. Like, still, like, beyond like Eastern Asian buildings, I don't really see a use for this one piece. Though maybe if you like build a church, maybe. Some of those pieces are very, I don't know. Also, another thing I would like to see changed, like, you see me individually just recolor all of the walls. Yeah, if you select all of the walls, just because they are like, there's some walls that have this rounded hole, which I still, works for Eastern Asian buildings. Might work a little bit less for other buildings, unless you're building like, well, maybe a church, or if you're just building a weird building. But if you have any others, or just, I think if you just select multiple pieces, then you can't recolor them. You have to individually recolor them, which is annoying. Yeah. There are some wall pieces that are like below ground, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to go in and recolor all of those again. So I basically just covered them with those beams and sticks. Yeah. Like, in game, those smaller sticks, they are actually all of like, well, all of them. Most of the decorations, or most of the pieces that I've used so far in Ozaru, are those climbable habitat pieces that are like meant for monkeys and lemurs. And I like the first building I actually built in Plan Zoo, which wasn't actually in Ozaru, also used those pieces for like roofs and such. And yeah, I've used them the most out of all the pieces in the game so far. And yes, it's a little bit like heavy with like the rounded parts, or like the circle windows, but it's in a way usable throughout Ozaru, so I'm happy with it. And I'm not going to build like those really like angular or like curved roofs at the ends that I've built for like the pagoda and such, because they take a little bit longer than all the other roofs, and I just want, like, I'm not going to rush Ozaru, but I do realize like, alright, we need to hurry up a little bit, because I have one more speed build video coming up, and after that Ozaru needs to be almost completely done. Well, I hope actually to have Ozaru completely done in the final speed build video. Also, it did get asked if, because the speed build videos are a little bit fast, and so you guys can't really see the end result as, well, clearly as I can, because, I can open a game and see what we have. And I did think like, oh, I can make screenshots and show them at the end of the video, and that would probably work, but I also plan to do like a cinematic overview of Ozaru. Like a cinematic overview of Ozaru for the people who basically don't like the commentary over it and just want to, you know, have like nice relaxing music while you get an overview of Ozaru. And then I also plan to do like a narrated tour, or like a tour with commentary, where we basically just go in guest view, or like from the guest perspective, and just walk through Ozaru. Yeah. Also, quick note, like this just popped into my mind, but Ozaru is actually the first project that we might be able to finish, at least on this channel. Yeah. There's some other buildings, like on the left right now you see the exhibit building that I built off screen, because, you know, that was really just a trial building. And then on the right, like there's this extension to the staff building that was the trial for those rounded windows. So yeah, I didn't get those on camera. I know you guys asked to, well, basically see almost everything that I built on camera, but you know, if I don't feel confident in like, oh, is this going to turn out well, I usually don't start the camera, or like don't start recording. So yeah, all the other buildings so far that you like see are either built on camera or are basically just filler. Like the building right now completely on the right is actually off screen right now, like you can only see the roof, but yeah, that building was just like, alright, I need a roof for this, I need to make this look somewhat finished. It doesn't have any windows, but let's just pretend it's finished. Well, it's a staff building, so it doesn't need to look all that fancy. Though in the end, this staff area did turn into a village. Well, I think most people right now, when they build like staff facilities, they build them in like almost like village style things where they are all clustered together. But I really just wanted to, yeah, this almost looks like a village on its own, or like a small commune, I think you would call it. So I just went straight for that and just, you know, built basically a farm. Yeah, I tried to find like trees and plants that would look good as like crops, and I tried to use the tamarind tree, I think it is, and in the end I did end up use it, but I actually, like, this is the first time I used those lotus trees. I think they are lotus trees. I think. I'm really like trying to look in the recording and see if I show you the name, but I don't. Also, yeah, I wanted to build like melon plants, and in the end they also look a little bit like, let's just say it looks like another plant. Anyway, it is meant to look like a melon plant, but yeah, it does look like some other plant. It is also a vegetable, but I forgot the name for it right now. So anyway, so in the end it did turn out looking quite well, actually, with like the fence surrounding it, and then basically the crops, because, well, when you build crops you actually want them like straight and, you know, like they are planted, because they are, like, they're supposed to be planted. And like for natural plants, like you want them to be just like in the places that weeds would grow. That's usually what I say. Like, if you want something to look natural, think of the places in your garden or anywhere where weeds would grow. Look at the forest and look at how the plants grow there. They're usually not in rows unless they are planted by people, and they are usually just at places where people don't come. So yeah, if you want natural plants, place them in those places. Anyways, so that's going to be it for today's video. I did not know that I was already talking for almost half an hour. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, I hope to see you back in the next one. I wish you all an amazing day. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, because again, it does help out a lot. And I wish you all an amazing weekend. Bye bye.